We're gonna. All right. Hello, hello, and welcome, everybody. Welcome, practitioners. Oh my goodness, are you in for a treat today? I am as well. I'm so excited to have, oh my gosh, the wonderful one and only Dr. Kasia Kynes with us today. So excited. Oh my goodness.
Hi.
Yeah, hi everybody. Kasia, how long have we been trying to put this together? Like
Hello.
forever? We've been trying to arrange
Oh
this
yeah,
live stream.
forever.
Exactly. Both of our busy
Yeah.
schedules and Dr. Kynes' busy schedule. So finally, we are here today. And guys, we're going to have a really great session. Today, we are going to delve into something unique, and I think it's going to really resonate. I know it does for me. We're going to talk about how to grow your practice by solving the EBV medical mystery. All right. So EBV, Epstein Barr virus medical mystery, and we'll be talking about proven strategies to get even your most challenging clients back to health. And so let me just briefly do a quick intro. Dr. Kasia Kynes is an Amazon best-selling author of Epstein Barr virus solution and a doctor of clinical nutrition from Maryland University of Integrative Health. And she's actually a graduate of the very first cohort of the first doctoral functional nutrition program created by Dr. Liz Lipsky, which is so exciting. And she's also the CEO of Holistic Nutrition Naturally and the Global EBV Institute. She's been in private practice since 2005, and I mean, gosh, helped thousands of clients one at a time, really specializing in complicated health issues, really all kinds of different complexities, right? GI, autoimmune, SIBO, and her focus now is EBV. So welcome to the live stream, Kasia. So happy to have you.
Okay, so I was kicked out for a second, so I missed most of the introduction. I'm glad that I'm back.
Yay! I didn't even know you had disappeared for a second. So yeah, I did an intro, and yeah. So why don't we just kick things off? Tell us how you got interested in Epstein Barr virus.
Long story, but I lost a friend to complications of MS, and that really hurt because I was not able to help her. And well, it may sound really weird, but I had a friend who was a medical intuitive, and when we lost her, in my frustration, I just talked to her and like, listen, just tell me, what do you see? What was it? And she says it was EBV. She confirmed. And in the meantime, I just kept asking the universe. I was frustrated. And also, a couple of my clients randomly started to ask me for a professional opinion on a particular book. Not that we have time to read, right? We're just busy working with clients. But
right.
And the book was called Medical Medium. I was like, all right, I bought the book. I took it on a plane to a medical conference because that's, okay, I'll sit there, so I'll have time to read. But I almost fell off the chair because, that there were big claims in the book, but basically the gist was that when you have those complicated medical conditions, autoimmune conditions, that there's this big virus behind it. And, and you and I, we try to train in the best places. So we're committed. I've been committed, and I trained everywhere. And I had never heard of this. It's like, how is it possible? So I was really disturbed because I saw some of those cases that I couldn't figure out. Mm-hmm. I went to Bastille. I got the best training in the country. I was training with Institute for Functional Medicine, and nobody talks about it. It's like, what is this? So I went back after that conference and I started to backtrack with some of my clients at that time. And I started to go into medical literature, basically. First thing I did is looking at testing. Testing is a hot mess. It's not that simple, but it's a hot mess. A little bit like thyroid testing these days. That's such a hot mess. And so I started to request testing, you know, properly. And I started to see it was popping up, especially in those hard cases. When you're doing everything together and it's not for the lack of trying, and the client is very compliant and they're trying everything, and it's so then I just pursued the medical literature, and I kept going and reading and going and pulling things together. And then the doctoral program opened, and of course I jumped in because finally we have a higher level of professional training for our fields. Like, yes, I'm going to be in it. And so it kind of forced me to focus on it more professionally, and to do a professional medical review of the literature. That was my project. And towards the end of the doctoral program, the director of the program, Dr. Zalewski, probably a lot of you know her, the amazing mentor. A couple of colleagues, even my husband, everybody was saying, well, you have to write a book. It's like, no way, I have full practice. I have this doctoral program on top. I have no life. I've never written a book. Not interested. What are you talking about? No. When are you writing the book? Because that review was good. It's like, you have to put it in the book. So, but basically what I was working in the trenches and getting results. And I was thinking, wait a second, why is not everybody knows that? People are not doing that. These people are failing. We're failing millions of people. When I'm looking at statistics, we're failing millions of people. And not because we're bad clinicians. We just don't have the right information. Doctors, medical practices are failing these people. These are the people that land in your lap. These are the hard idiopathic cases, the resistant cases. Like, holy moly, this is bigger than Hashimoto. This is bigger than, than auto. It can cause cancer. It can cause a lot of autoimmunity. Is that what's driving it? So this is how it started. And what I realized was that the philosophy that I had clinically, what I was doing with patients clinically, I was doing a lot of antiviral work and I didn't know it. So my natural propensity for healing and the therapies that I was using were actually, when you looked at research, were matching perfectly with what I needed to do for ABD. And so I think what happened is that I'm just a conduit. I just was the right person that was supposed to take this and bridge the gap between what medical practice is doing and what the fans of medical medium are doing, because these are two camps that are so polarized, but there's millions of people falling through the cracks right in the middle. And my job was to provide foundation, research, medical literature foundation for both clinicians and their patients, and then bridge it with therapeutics, what actually practically has worked and why. And everything is evidence-based because the medical medium comes from the spiritual realm. So not everybody resonates with it. And he doesn't have background in nutrition. So sometimes people take it to extremes and deteriorate, lose too much weight, or they don't know, they don't have reference, they don't know what to do with their bodies, so they can do damage sometimes too. So that was my job. That's basically my job in this case, that I had to bridge it. And so there's the bridge. It got written. With pressure from everyone, sat down and wrote it. And these are years of my practice as well, because it's culmination of what I've been doing. It all kind of fit together. So there I am.
Yeah, such a great story. I'm sorry about your friend. That had to have been really difficult for you. So it's interesting because you mentioned a connection with EBV and a lot of really serious illnesses, right? And I remember when I had my nutrition practice, I did consulting with a big neurology group here outside of Chicago. And so I worked with a lot of MS patients. And so I started to research, as well, like what could possibly be an underlying contributing variable, right? And certainly EBV comes up pretty regularly in the literature. So in terms of practicality, how do we know? Like, we have a lot of practitioners on with us today. So like, what would the first, like, how do we rule it in or out, I guess, is the first question. How do we know what we're dealing with? If we have a difficult client who just isn't getting better, what would you say are the next steps?
Yeah, exactly. So, it could be a celiac that is completely gluten-free, and you even eliminate the cross-reactivity and contamination, and because the genes for celiac can be turned on by a particular protein in the virus. I mean, right there. So there's, I would say, if you're doing your best and you're scratching your head and you're a good clinician, you care, and the patient is very compliant and you're doing everything, the testing, allergies, you've done all of that, stool tests, whatever you're doing, and it's just not budging, and then you do want to test EBV. That would be really the easiest way to go about it, but you want to test the 4 markers, not 3 nor 2, 4 antibodies together. That's where it starts. That's where it falls apart. So right now, people are looking, because of medical medium, people, he opened this door, and a lot of people now are reading. As they're reading, they're saying, it's me, right? I want to test. They go to the doctor, and the doctor says, everybody has the virus. 95+% of global population has the virus. Why would I test you? You're going to have antibodies, especially those 2 big ones, IgG. So what does it tell me? I'm not going to test you because it's not going to tell me anything new. You probably have it like all of us. And number 3, even if you have EBV, only EBV acknowledged in medical practice is mononucleosis. The kind of the worst flu in your life, when you have to take a semester off college and you're bedridden, kind of 6 weeks of being in bed. That's the only acknowledged presentation of EBV in clinical practice. Anything other than that, doctors will not even see it. So I mean, doctors will not even test. People sometimes go for 2 years knocking on the doors trying to find a doctor willing to test, because if they test, they don't know what to do with it. If it's mono, they will tell you to go and sleep. There's nothing to do. Right. And if there is a doctor who works with EBV and they already know and they figured it out, the only medical solution is possibly an antiviral medication. But if you look at medical efficacy, it's low. And it doesn't really work very well. It's popular, but EBV community, people come and say, yeah, I've done it. It doesn't quite move the needle. And then I just had the practitioner training, and I had a DO, MD, and they're saying the same thing. Yeah, I've done the antiviral medications. They're useless. So there's no solutions that doctors have. And therefore, there's nothing that they can do, because they don't even know all the things that we've already discussed. For them, it's just mono. Once you had mono, you can't get it again. That's not medically true. And so it's really disturbing, because literally millions of people fall through the crack. If we have 3 million cases reported of mono a year in the States alone, reported, many more unreported, some of these people will develop something called chronic mononucleosis syndrome, which is very similar to chronic fatigue syndrome. That's kind of the typical trajectory, but it doesn't have to be. Like, you just, that flu that you had, that terrible mono you had, you never go back to baseline. You never yourself again. You never quite recover. And that's a red flag, for example.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically, what I'm taking away so far is it's super common, obviously. And if the clinician, the practitioner has, a patient or a client that just isn't, you're trying everything and it's just not, they're just not responding, then we need to dig deeper. And ideally, they would find a clinician that is willing to run those 4 tests, right? Those 4 antibody tests. Okay.
Yes.
So any tips on how to find that clinician that's willing to run those 4 tests? Because a lot of our audience here, they can't, they're not medical doctors, right? They can't just go and order those 4 tests. So any tips on that?
Yes, I have a great tip. I stumbled upon there are consumer direct labs.
Okay.
So I talked to one of them. They created a panel. They have all 4. And literally, I'm not a prescribing doctor. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't run labs, blood work, but it's a direct to consumer lab, and people can go. They don't have to know me, but because so many people are desperate and ask me, we actually have their panel for EBV, and it's on our EBV website. People can, I don't know them, they can go click, and it's a Alta lab, ULTA lab. You can literally Google that lab, and they have 4 antibodies. Okay. So you can go to their lab directly and find those 4 antibodies. And the wonderful thing is that they're all over the country. So the customer service is outstanding. And you walk into a local lab and you get the reports on the findings within 24 hours online. It's hands-off. People love it. You're independent. It's about $150. But you know what? People spend so much money and time and stress trying to figure it out. There it is. And you're done. And and so that's something that we put on our website, because I was so frustrated that people don't even understand that they have their rights and that there are labs for consumers and they can just do it. And then they know.
So it's called
and so I can list
Alta?
the 4 antibodies for you if you.
Yeah, tell me the name of the lab.
ULTA labs, yes.
Okay, got it. All right, so I'm gonna type this in the chat. Okay, cool. All right, so guys, I just listed that in the chat there. Okay, great. So, all right, so basically, the patient or the client, if they can't find a medical doctor that is willing or able to run these 4 labs, no problem. They can go and get it direct to consumer, which is amazing. And honestly, that price point, I mean, people have, they're struggling, they're suffering. So it's not cost prohibitive, which is really great, right? Okay, so let's say,
I know.
It is. All right, so let's say, I go and get these labs and they're all positive. What's the next step? Any tips on interpreting?
For the patient or for the clinician?
Oh, I don't know. Let's talk about the clinician, because that's who we have on the line here today. So how do they know what to do?
We have an advanced lab module in our training for practitioners. So we have that.
Okay.
There's a chapter on it in my book, which is EBV Solutions. So that's that, if people like to read. And then we created, my job. I think my job on this plan is to make sure that when a person is diagnosed with EBV and they Google EBV, that they find our EBV Help website, HELP. It's a website where they can click and say, oh, I need a lab. Go get that lab. Oh, I have a lab. What do I do? There's a lab page, and there is a pop-up on that lab. There is a 50-minute recording from Facebook Live that I did for our community with a whiteboard talking about the lab. So there's some scenarios on that. So we have resources for people. So I don't want people to get into support groups or into the rabbit hole and get desperate and not know and split hairs. there's the evidence. You can start there and, you know, get your resources and get your education. And for clinicians here, definitely the deep dive is that training that we have, because we go through every scenario. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that next. So tell us a little bit about the clinician training. Because my bet is that there are going to be people in our audience today that want to take this a step further. Maybe before we go there, though, tell us how this is going to help our practitioners to grow their business. And then let's talk about the training. So how, because that's really the promise of today's conversation, right? Being able to really expand your business and your practice by being able to identify and help people with this, you know, usually kind of flying under the radar sort of infection, right? This unidentified issue that they're having that's just preventing them from getting their lives back. So let's just talk a little bit about the business aspect and how this is going to help them grow.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Mm-hmm. So there's absolutely. There's two types of trainings that I devised, especially with this in mind, because I am a nutritionist and I was a licensed, nutrition / dietitian for many years, and was in clinical practice, and I know cash flow, and I know all the hardships, I know, and so when I launched the clinician training first, it was at the end of 2017. It was a 4-month program when we went every 2 weeks. It was like mentorship. And this time I decided, you know what? We have a Zoom culture now. We are busy. I did a live weekend workshop, and it's all recorded. And I am almost ready to launch a 4-month when this is, and I've been discussing this concept for a couple of years now with a lot of nutritionists. Because I want to train a new generation of nutritionists, in particular dietitians, who will be so efficient and versed at it. We can capture a lot of pain and have a sustainable business because people are looking. So, the workshop is all the lecturing, all the science, all the modality, all the protocol. Everything is there, so you can jump in and gorge on it and binge on it and finish it, and there's lots of materials for patients and clients and ready to go, you know, with recipes and ready to go. So that's done there. Temporarily it is closed, so there's a waiting list right now because I need to tweak some things and make sure that it's good to go as a completely on demand, because we did a live. It was a lot of fun. But then what happens is, how do you monetize on it? How do you put it into your practice? You have all those tools, but what do you do with them? And that's why, for me, where I'm moving forward, this part is going to be always available. Anybody can jump in, but I'm going to have a 4-month mentoring program. And here's where the magic is, where you can, I want to roll the cost for me into the cost that your clients will pay to get into the training with you. Basically, we're going to have an application process, like application form that I will create. I have something similar for my community. When you will announce, I'm working with Dr. Kynes, we're doing 4 months together, and we're going to do A to Z. I'm opening enrollment for 3 new clients, possibly with EBV. Please apply, it's free. And we're going to review the applications together with me. We're going to pick the right 3 people for this program. And throughout, it's going to be a commitment to work with that clinician for 4 months, and probably twice a month. That's typical. And we're gonna work with you and Dr. Kynes throughout those 4 months. So let's say, what would you say you would charge a client for that? 2,000, 2,500? I mean, what's reasonable if you have 4 months?
Oh yeah, easy. 4 months of work with someone. Oh gosh, I would say at least 2,500. I would say that's minimum.
That's minimum. That's minimum. And so
Yeah.
I want to keep the cost within 300. So I know that if you have 2 clients that they already know, they commit, and I can also send a message in my community that this is what we're doing. If you'd like to work closer with me under a clinician, one way or the other, we're gonna have 2 or 3 that the clinician can work with. And that's where the magic happens, because we work together. We meet every 2 weeks in most cases, and then we can hone in on what is in that workshop. I don't want to keep lecturing on the workshop. It's done. Everything is there. You can pull the resources, the protocol, you can start creating. Everything is there. But the magic is working together in the trenches with the real people and with a real clinician. And we support each other, learn together, and move the needle for the people. Because, and the reason I know it works is because even in the consumer program, we have a recovery program for consumers. They have access to me at the discounted rate as students, when I can jump on an hour with me, 45 minutes with me, to help, so I can help them within the program if they're confused, strategy for the protocol and whatever else is going on. And it's a lot of fun, and we can really save people a lot of time and grief and money and mistakes, but just having those sessions with them. And the same with clinicians. And so when I did the training first time, it was just every 2 weeks. And that's the most exciting part for me, because then I can serve our colleagues. And I know that when we train together, I know what they know. And then also I offer a certification process. If they want, towards the end of the 4 months, we can have like proficiency testing exams. If they pass all that, which they would, because I would support them, then we, on that EBV website, we do have certified practitioners right there. If people are looking, we can refer, because my one-on-one practice is closed. I closed it last fall because I want to serve our colleagues. This is where my heart is right now. I've done a lot of one-on-one client and group of students. I'll continue doing that, but really we need to train. It's lonely doing it on my own. I want you guys to work with me. It's a lot of fun. It's a new frontier, and we can really help so many more.
Oh my gosh, Kasia, I love it.
So people are looking, I know, it's very exciting. Every nutritionist I asked about this concept. Yeah, I said that this is a good concept, and really people are looking. So whether you're on our website or whether people want to work with me, right now I have to send them to the consumer program. But what if I had an intermediate step where it's like, I have a database of clinicians here, check them out. Here they are there for you. They're available one-on-one. This is what you want. And to work one-on-one with me, 4 months program costs about $10,000. When I had a practice open, I don't have it open anymore. But if I took somebody on, that's what it would take. And that's not within the range for most people, because I would take very complex cases.
Right.
But and every clinician, every practitioner has different strengths and different background, and so you can just build on that. And trust me, people are really looking and need that. And you may find out in our field, I really catch people that fail otherwise. So I think percentage of probable EBV cases that you're working with right now, the percentage is higher than I even think. It's probably substantial. And so we had in our workshop, we had one brand new nutritionist from Ireland. And so I told her, you are taking such a shortcut. You don't have to think, you can jump in. You can really build a practice around it. If you don't have any other ideas, if you have passion for it, you can just serve that community and really hone in on it. So hopefully, I hope she will jump on the 4 months training. So the 4 months training the requirement will be to do the workshop, because it is meat of it. It's what to do, how to do it. But it's not the real life application, actually doing it. That's the 4 months. So that's where I'm going.
I love it.
It's really, so excited to talk to you, because this is what we really need to bring this out to the clinicians, practitioners, and nutritionists and dietitians have the best. We're the best at it, because it's the supplements, the nutrient-based supplements, the diet, the lifestyle, the stress management, toxicity load. This is everything we've been doing before even functional medicine became functional medicine. We've been doing it because we're nutritionists, and this is where it starts. And this is perfect for it.
It's so exciting. Like, it makes me tempted to go back into practice. It's like, it's so exciting. I'm serious, guys. I just think it's so awesome what you're doing. And the thing about it is, you're helping exponentially more people by training practitioners, right? And that's super exciting. You're able to make it, like that's why I do what I do, because I can help exponentially more people in the world if I can help a practitioner to build their practice, right? So it's really exciting work. And what's really interesting, so a couple quick things that come to my mind. Number one, there are no really great prescription medications that are helpful for EBV. So that's one. So it's really out of, most medical doctors are not going to really be into it unless they're functionally oriented, of course. It's treated with, like you said, nutrient-based supplements, food, and lifestyle. So it is absolutely in our wheelhouse, which is so exciting. And then the third thing that comes up for me is, since COVID, this explosion in terms of awareness around viruses is so interesting. Yeah. So can you talk to that? Can you speak to that at all? Because I saw you had a COVID tab on your website.
Yeah, we have a little COVID support program. We did in spring last year when we were in lockdown and people are pulling their hair out first time. Well, this is probably the best antiviral protocol that there is, and the interesting thing is that it's millions of small things that we can do at home. It's just amazing that the antiviral doesn't mean something really drastic in general to prevent, really bad COVID infection from stealing your life. And there was just one study on COVID and EBV way back, I think it was April last year, in China, in the province that started it. And the study showed that people that had active COVID, that in that group, there was a much higher, a statistically significant percentage of people with EBV. And so, nobody's really looking. Somebody looked, but it's not causation. It's just correlation. But it's if 95% of us have it, it has a tendency to come back in some people, and it depends on our nutritional status. Number one. And it's really interesting. So we really are in the best position, because if you think about it, even functional doctors and NDs in particular, they come and complain to me because they're not hitting it. They're trying herbal and botanical medicine. That's what their strength is. Functional doctors combine medical treatment, the medications, with botanical medicine, trying different things and nutrients and supplements, and multiple ingredients antiviral supplements, and they're just not hitting it. But they forget what we know. Immune cells. I actually have a little module in the workshop training saying, how do you rebuild your immunoglobulins? Oh, vitamin A, vitamin C, look what they do. Vitamin E, look what they do. the immune cells are cells. The cells is only as strong as the nutrients you provide. Hello? You can hit it with botanical medicine, but you have to hit it with nutrients. And what my aha moment was when I started to get amazing results is when I focused on research and I was pulling nutrient-based antiviral agents. And I was using them one at a time. And then I was using them aggressively. And they multitask. There's nothing you can do. The virus is predictable. If it's the virus, it starts stalling. The virus is treatable and reversible. And I'm quoting a medical doctor from a study, Dr. Flavin, from 2006. And if it's acute and if it's not complicated, you can start reverse engineering it within 24, 48 hours. My goal is to get to a point where I can teach people how to prevent it from reactivation. Once you learn everything you have to learn about it, then you can expect the reactivation. You can know when it's starting, and you can zap it within a day or two so it never develops. You have all the tools. And you have to do it with those high nutrients. I'll give you an example. Selenium. You can drive selenium up to 800 micrograms safely, even longer term. What does it do? It turns off the replication of the virus, but it also builds glutathione. It also is essential for normal thyroid. It's like, whew, and we're not getting enough of it anyway. And if you start putting these in place, not a combination of things, one, and then you stack it. And then you have a couple of these at the same time, and you really maximize those. That's when the magic happens. It is so rewarding. It's like, and if the magic doesn't happen, we know it's either not EBV, or there's complications like molds, Wi-Fi interference, big ones. Mold is the biggest one. And so at least you have a map. Yeah, at least you have a map and you know where to go, So if there are cases of enlarged spleen, for example, and Dr. Flavin showed 48 hours, 50 cases, the spleen normalized. I did a free call just talking about EBV with practitioners in one of the functional practitioners and Facebook groups. And one medical doctor told me, because of you, I learned about Dr. Flavin. My daughter, she's in her early 20s. She had enlarged spleen. She was not doing well, and that was caused by EBV. I did what said 24, 48 hours reverse injury. I couldn't believe it. It works. And Dr. Flavin was doing work similar to me. I didn't know, but I didn't know her. And when I looked at what she was doing, I almost fell off the chair. I actually track her down. So we touch base sometimes. But nobody knows about it. And I found her study literally in the last 24 hours before I was about to send my book to Amazon to publish it. There was just something happened, like magic, that I stumbled. I was not even looking. And there is the study says it can be reversed. It's reversible and it's treatable. And I was like, how everybody should know that. This is like a Nobel Prize. People, where is this doctor? I have to find her. So literally, it's so exciting because who is not working with women? 95% of practitioners work with women, and 95% will be women, right? Because women come and get help. Well, who is not working with thyroid? Who is not working with thyroid, people?
Right.
Thyroid galore. We have epidemic, right? But did you know, if you look at studies, 95% of hypothyroidism is not hypothyroidism, it's Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's autoimmune. And of all the triggers of Hashimoto's, EPV is one of the biggest ones.
Oh, so no kidding.
Oh, no kidding. I always insist, test both. Immediately test if somebody, women is miserable, test thyroid, but test those antibodies. See if you can pick if that is Hashimoto, and then test EBV immediately. And I had a case of my old client that I hadn't seen for years. She actually had IBS, so it wasn't anything about thyroid. But this time something happened, and so I immediately said, well, test both. Her local doctor tested both. Both were elevated. She knew me. I was actually working through the manuscript of the book, so I sent her the manuscript, read it. She had so many aha moments. I had known her for years. I didn't know, we do timeline, everything. I didn't even know about the fact that she had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and nobody was a kid, and nobody could figure out why. That's one of the EBV causes. It actually, that's been documented. One of the causes, and then she was able to track some incidents in her life, like mono in college, and then instances of gain weight and depression, and fatigue with stress periodically. And I knew her. And I didn't even know that. But when she was reading, she just, so what did we do? We focused on EBV exclusively. We just set everything in motion. And just 2-3 months later, she turned around, antibodies normalized, weight gain gone, depression gone. She thought she was dying. That's how bad she felt like she was dying. She was exhausted. She wanted to crawl. She wanted to crawl in bed. She didn't want to socialize. She didn't want to do anything. She was fatigued. She was miserable. And it wasn't just thyroid. It was the virus getting into the thyroid, and then the immune system attacking the thyroid cells because the virus was in it. So, I mean, we have an epidemic of Hashimoto's and we don't know it. And how many of these cases are actually caused directly by this darn virus? Lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, like I said, celiac, diabetes type 1 can be one, MS can be, so it's like a laundry. There's on my EBV website, there's a laundry list of autoimmune misdiagnosis. There's some studies on misdiagnosing as Lyme's. I'm going to leave it there because I don't know. I have some anecdotal stories. I just want to poke that. I don't know enough, but I don't work with Lyme. Sometimes,
but it could be.
If things don't work with Lyme, could it be? Could you test? So, yeah. So it's pretty intensely
exciting. It is. It just sounds like 95% of, I think, the human race, right? The human race has had EBV, right? We have antibodies.
Yeah.
And so the key is that some people never recover, and others of us, it reactivates, right? Like I know, like myself as an example, and Kasia, about my mold journey, right? Oh my gosh, like years of not really knowing what the problem was. And I actually did test. I did find a functional medicine doctor who thought, let's see if EBV is involved here. And it was. So, like he labeled it chronic active EBV.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, so that, of course, nothing could really change until I got out of the moldy environment. Right. Like that's the other thing, which isn't sometimes easier said than done, but absolutely necessary. Right. Yeah. We could do a whole nother talk on mold. We actually should do that sometime because both Kasia and I'm
still scratching. Yes, I'm still feeling for. Literally, it's still on my skin. But it's like 5% rather than 80%.
Yeah, which is so good.
The thing is that I had my students who, we would move the needle 60%, and the symptoms would be peeling off left and right, and she was doing so much better. But she says there's certain things that are not peeling off, and what is it? And there's nothing we can explain. It's like, Jen, you got to look for mold. That just feels like it's probably mold. And for 2 months, she said no. And then finally, her husband found some water damage in the kitchen under the sink. It's like, And so then she was able to find a local functional doctor who was locally holding her hand, put her on, they remediated, put her on protocol, and she was so much better. She started to really turn around. So, you still can support the body if you have both, and get better. But yeah, I mean, the virus has been there for 10 million years.
Right.
I probably have it too. I just haven't tested. Because listen to this. If your nutritional status drops, and this is I'm speaking to the choir, but you guys don't know because you didn't have to research. If the studies, there's a couple of studies saying that if your nutritional level drops, your avirulent virus, which is nice and calm and not doing anything, becomes virulent because of genomic changes.
Mm.
Okay,
wow.
Listen to this one. It's so nice that I don't have to explain it. Like NF-kappa B. This is another one. Yeah. NF-kappa B, drives inflammation. Now, NF-kappa B, EBV uses it and hijacks it to replicate.
Oh.
The more NF-kappa B you have, the more replication you're inviting, because the virus is opportunistic. Okay, there's more NF-kappa B, let me get on it. And so there was a study. There was one, I think it was McDonald's meal, like a breakfast with hash browns and sandwich, like a full breakfast. And they measured NF-kappa B, 2 hours. It increased NF-kappa B1 150% for 2 hours, just that one meal.
Whoa.
You see, I mean, and also people, there was some studies, I think it was in Africa, children that were depleted in selenium. Mm-hmm. So people deficient in selenium had higher risk of reactivation. I mean, nutrients, people, this is what we do.
Nutrients rock, right?
Nutrients rock. Nutrients rock.
I love it.
Yeah, nutrients rock, and that the nutrient makeup and density in produce has been decreasing. I have it all documented in the book. If you need it for your clients because they don't believe you, this is where you go. I put it in there. I have a chapter on microwaving, which was very hard to document, but there's studies from different countries from all over a couple of decades showing how you deplete antioxidants just through the cooking method, through microwave, and what you're losing. You're losing cancer protecting flavonoids in broccoli, like 75% of them, and maybe only a couple percent in steaming. It's like completely, and people don't realize, but you need to look at oncogenicity. This virus is implicated, and more research is done. It's like even with breast cancer, now they're looking the breast tissue with tumor seems to have more, there's more EBV virus, and the breast tissue that has the tumor, where if you see EBV, it's more aggressive. The tumor is more aggressive. There's something going on. 10% of gastric cancer is caused by this virus. 10%.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Who knew? And there's
I did not know that.
40, what was it? 43,000 people die annually, globally die of cancer caused by EBV. There's there's this different cancer types that are absolutely caused by EBV. We know it, and there's more like colorectal cancer and breast cancer. When they're looking at studies, that something's going on there. There's correlation. Yeah. We find causation finally because there's something there. And so, because NF-kappa B is also involved in that oncogenicity, I believe, because when the virus infects the B cells, it immortalizes them. Even when they lie, they don't die. It messes up the self-destruction mechanism, the SOS mechanism, all this is gone. So basically, and what even doctors don't realize, if you look at studies, the virus relies on, in the host, the virus relies long-term more on actually cloning of the B cells. In fact, not on just lysing and spilling new virus.
Yeah.
On cloning, because you have it's like cancer cells.
Right. So fascinating.
Yeah, and there's things like turmeric, there's things that can stop that process and protect those B cells. And so it's exciting. It's totally
And it's
exciting.
all nutrients.
It's
Hey
totally
guys, I want to remind you all, I mean, this topic is so exciting, and I really want to encourage everyone to take a deeper dive, right? Especially with those tough to crack cases where, you know, your client just isn't responding. It sounds to me like it could, you know, this underlying EBV could definitely be the culprit. And so I've got the link on the screen for you. It's a bit.ly link, which means it is case sensitive. So you type it in exactly as you see it. So bit.ly/EBV Pro. All right. And what's that?
I like that name. So, so let me explain what you guys will see right now. When you go to that page, you will you will see explanation, a couple of testimonials from colleagues, but there's a waiting list because it's closed right now. So what we committed to keeping it within $1,000. So I'm committed to keeping it at $997, and there's going to be a payment plan about $500 for 2 months. So there's an option. What else do I want to tell you? Oh, I lost my track of, but that's what I wanted to say. That's what it will be when it opens. So you will be on waiting list, and as soon as it is open, and I just need to put some legal documents in there and just make sure that everything fine-tuned, and it'll be available. So if you get on the waiting list, which is there right now, then as soon as I know, I'll notify you. And so, and then you can just jump in. Oh, yes, I know what I wanted to say. We don't have continuing educational hours because I talk specific brands. So, for example, there's a Jumpstart protocol we use, and there's specific things that, you know, you can change the brands and use your own, but I have to disclose because it's practical. I have to tell you what I'm using exactly, and what dosages and what works best. And there's a particular brand that is there's different delivery that people don't know about it, and that is one of the reasons why I'm so successful. It's like IV. People have problems with gut. It doesn't matter. So that's why I cannot offer those hours.
Yep. I think to me it's worth it, like to learn the skill and have an opportunity to serve your clients and really become known as a problem solver. You know, really, I mean, that is what's going to jumpstart your practice, right? I think word of mouth. It is just, guys, it's flipping huge. Let me just say,
it would be huge because, you know, we have to thank Medical Medium for opening this door. People are familiar with the book, and especially in functional medicine in our circles. Some doctors even have read his books. And so, you know, I am very grateful because of him, I started to look at it. So, but totally, you can go by word of mouth, and you will not need more patients. And also, you know, we would have you in our database on our website. And when I have a team of practitioners, I get so many requests. I can always even have it in my signature and email. Find a
practitioner
trained by me that I trust. Here's the link. Boom, they go. And so, you know, I only did that training once in 2017, and then the rest until now I was focused on the consumer. Yeah, we've nailed our consumer program. It's been outstanding. We've been running it for over 2 years.
Awesome.
And so I worked really hard on that. So that is set. We have that.
And now the focus is shifting to training practitioners, which is so good. So guys, I really want to encourage you, go and check it out, right? I mean, for $1,000, like seriously, it is I really would encourage you to check it out. It is going to really help grow your practice, right? You're going to become known, and really that investment just to be listed as a trusted practitioner, like that itself is worth the price of gold, I think. That's the kind of thing that can really move the needle in someone's practice. All right, so it looks like we're going to have to wrap up. This has been so much fun, Dr. Kasia, my wonderful friend it was such a treat to be able to spend, close to an hour with you this afternoon.
Oh my gosh.
And I want to thank you. I know you're incredibly busy. Thank you for sharing your time and your wisdom. You're so incredibly generous. And most of all, thank you for this amazing work that you're doing in the world.
Thank
I
you. Thank you.
really,
And
really appreciate it.
I am just grateful that I can talk. And I know that people that are listening know exactly what I'm saying. It's like,
Yes. Yeah, we got it.
You got it. Yes. And it's really lonely. You know, some clinicians use my book, but I don't get to talk to them. So I'm really, really grateful that you provided me with the opportunity to actually open that avenue for others. So I can speak the same language. I don't have to explain.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again. Yes. Yeah, we'll do it again.
It's very important that I will find time. Yes.
Yeah, we'll do a webinar, or we'll do something again, because this is just such an amazing topic. So, all right, guys. So listen, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us live or if you're catching the replay, hope you learned a lot. I know I did. And again, thank you to Dr. Kasia. Appreciate everything. Bye for now.